Welcome to the Necronama.com, where we're spending all of October looking at 31 episodes of The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. Today, we're looking at Treehouse number 6 from October 29th, 1995. I am James Spada.
I'm Don Guillory.
And I'm Thomas Brungardt.
What are we here for?
Episode 6.
Erotic Cakes.
Well, that too.
You get an erotic
Can I
cake.
just say now how much I hate Homer Cubed?
You know what? I was thinking about this. I think we might want to go in out of order. Just get Homer Cubed out of the way and then enjoy the rest of it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
But if we do it, we're never doing it again for the whole run of the show. All right.
I agree. It's a one-off.
What happened in the intro? I skipped it.
Oh, the intro was, it was basically Krusty as a Headless Horseman, the parody of Legend of Sleepy Hollow. He's holding his own head, of course, and hurls it at the camera.
He was Ichabod Clown. Boom. Roasted. Nailed it.
And that leads us to, James, your favorite
Homer Cubed, the first skit of the show. So Patty and Selma show up, so all the kids and the pets hide, and so then Homer can't find a place to hide because everybody else is already hiding. So he does what any of us would do, and he looks behind the bookcase, because that makes perfect fucking sense. And then, he finds this portal into another dimension, quite literally. And he hops inside and finds that not only is he trapped, he's now in 3D. And this is really just an excuse to show off this technology, and it doesn't hold up at all, but we'll get back to that. So then this cone comes through, and it hits Homer, and he gets mad, and he throws it at the floor, but it's 3D, so the cone breaks through the floor. Clever, clever. And the very fabrics of time and space rip and cause a wormhole. And then they bring in Bart to try to save Homer in a very Poltergeist-like moment. But Bart's all like, oh man, this is so cool, instead of really doing a good job. And he fails, and the universe collapses on itself, and Bart gets pulled back. And then Marge is all sad because Homer's dead, and Reverend Lovejoy is just like, he's gone to a better place. And then that's when Homer drops down into L.A., lands in a dumpster. I think it's actually Sherman Oaks, if I remember correctly. Lands in a dumpster in the real world, walks around frightened as people stare at him, but then he's super excited because there's an erotic cake store. And I did it. I made this sound so much more fucking interesting than it is.
Well, for those of us who live in California, if you want a good dick cake, you gotta go to Sherman Oaks.
I've heard that.
Not a sponsor.
That's in the Sherman Oaks district.
I thought it was in the Erotic Cakes district.
That too.
You made this fun. You made this stupid sketch fun. I think this is kind of something we talked about on our Jurassic Park episode, that if you haven't downloaded and you happen to live in Greenland, please download it. The idea of doing something because you can and not stopping to think if you should. And they had a shitload of money that they poured into technology that wasn't quite ready for them, and it looked just shitty and stupid. And the sketch doesn't make any sense, and it's just, here's all of these stupid pre-programmed animated things we can throw in there and see if it works, and it doesn't work.
Well, and I feel like at some point they will have in this series some sort of reason to do 3D animation again, and it'll be better, I hope. And maybe it'll look just like Neil Gaiman's Coraline, and maybe it'll be really, really good. But the point is, for what they do normally, it'll look really good. And compared to this, it'll look great. But that's my problem with it. This wasn't going to hold up. No matter how great it was in that moment, you lived through Frogger. You lived through Pong. You know that things are going to get better. Why would you fucking do this?
Maybe it's like what we discussed before. It's a thing of they're not thinking about having a show that's going to be on for 32 seasons.
They weren't thinking fourth dimensionally?
Or fifth. But they were... they were probably just not thinking about where you could go with it. I mean, this is a mistake that was made by a lot of people during this period. When George Lucas remastered or whatever he did with the Star Wars trilogy, the original one, or even with the prequels coming in and making this weird shit. But throwing stuff in for the sake of it's something cool to look at right now, and then not fully appreciating how bad it will look in the future as the technology gets even better. And I think it's just an issue of it was about the novelty of it at that moment, and possibly they didn't have a better story that they could have done. I mean, this could have been Homer Cubed could have been an entire episode. And I know, James, that would yeah, exactly. I know that freaks you out, but this could have been an entire episode where, of these weird scientific stories or something, right? Or these weird phenomena where they explore things by using the technology that's available at the time, as opposed to a Treehouse of Horror Halloween special episode. Sketch on one of the episodes.
I mean, if you look at how their animation improved since the Tracy Ullman show at this point,
right?
They had to know this wasn't going to hold up long term.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but even then, is that really a consideration that they would be worried about, though? Because for me, I look at it as you and I. I mean, the three of us, you and I, look at this and say, okay, it hasn't aged well. But for someone who's just coming into this, 5-6-year-old who might watch this episode, or even an 8 or 9-year-old, right? They'll watch this episode and they're not thinking about the technology. They're thinking like, oh crap, they turned Homer into, they put Homer in the real world. So it's the novelty that we had, or the novelty that it had for us in the 90s, can still be experienced by people who haven't seen The Simpsons and are of a certain age.
I guess so. I don't know. I think it kind of takes it away from the kids, because you watch it and you're like, oh, Homer's in the real world. And then they turn to their parents and they say, hey, what's an erotic cake? What bothers me about that scene is that I only noticed after having seen it so many times now is that they did such a shitty job animating him into that real world scene. Yeah. You could see in certain scenes where there's cones blocking off the street, like, so they could get the panning shot to the erotic cake store. And then those cones are immediately gone, and then there's like cars parked there. And then as he enters the cake shop, you could see the cars in the distance like glitching, because they're using different takes, and they kind of disappear and come back, and it's just, they did such a shitty job incorporating him. It looked really rushed, and I know that they could have done better, because fucking Jurassic Park had already come out. I know it could look better than that, so I don't know. It's just...
Wait, this is confirmation that the moon landing was real.
Exactly.
Good Lord.
My Kubrick film crew shirt is a complete farce.
It's not even a real shirt. So let's bury this and never talk about it again. What's next?
Act 2, the second one, is Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace, which is a parody of Nightmare on Elm Street, and they did a great job with the title. They didn't fuck it up. They didn't make it a stupid pun. They told you exactly what it was. And I love this one because I love the Nightmare series, and it starts off with this cool Looney Tunes type animation. It's a good use of animation, not like that bullshit in Homer Cubed. And
never heard of it.
It's Bart's nightmare, and Willie is like the Freddy Krueger character, and he gets attacked, and you find out that Willie has been attacking all of the students at the school, and in class he kills Martin, and Martin dies in class, and it's hilarious, and he gets his little body sheet ripped off, and he's just in full rigor mortis, and freaks the class out, and then he goes into the kindergarten room and freaks them out. It's a very funny scene. It still makes me laugh. And you find out that there was a PTA meeting to discuss misprinted calendars, and it was just lousy March weather. So they had to turn the furnace on. And they go in there, and Willie he goes into the furnace room and he ends up catching fire, and then he goes to the meeting room to basically tell everybody, and then they tell him to sit down and wait because it wasn't his turn to speak, and he just burns to death, and he vows revenge on the parents, and he does this by attacking their children in their sleep, and then Bart and Lisa make a plan to fight him in a dream, and they fall asleep, and then Maggie comes and saves the day. And at the end, Willie hasn't died. He's still there. He gets off a bus, and he leaves his gun on the bus, and it's a whole thing. But they did such a great job, and I love that they kept the subject matter close enough where it wasn't as necessarily as dark as Wes Craven's, because in Wes Craven's, it's kind of this mix between the Pied Piper story and also this sinister person, Freddy Krueger, who was, a pedophile. I think the original story is that he had a relationship with a minor, and he was found guilty of pedophilia. And the parents find out and they kill him, and then he comes back to haunt the children in their dreams, which is probably too dark for The Simpsons, but the way they do it in this, I think, is really effective.
I would argue that this is the greatest one ever made.
This is their greatest parody, as far as I'm concerned, because of the way they're able to make light of such a. I mean, it's more comical than it is dark now, looking back on it, because Nightmare on Elm Street itself, back in the 80s, that was a fucked up movie. I mean, just me imagining some of the scenes right now where Johnny Depp's character gets killed by getting pulled into the bed, and there's all the blood that goes everywhere, and then there's Tina who gets sliced up in her own bedroom and is thrown around the walls and the ceiling and everything. That movie was really fucked up for the time. But I like how they were able to apply this to children, to where this could have been not just Nightmare on Elm Street parody. This could have been like a playground, scary story that people told. Like, oh, did you ever know about Old Man Willie? He was here and he killed a bunch of kids. It could have easily been their own material that they created because of how well they applied Nightmare on Elm Street, or adapted Nightmare on Elm Street for this. But there's some great pieces of this that hit on, again, the dysfunction in Springfield, the dysfunction within the school, the way that we as Americans treat the system of public education, to where they're bitching about things like spaghetti or about the school's lunch menu. And the fact that we need to know about it beforehand because I don't want my son to have spaghetti twice in the same day. Or just not even having fire extinguishers and shit. Which there's so much stuff that comes up in this one little thing where if you've ever been to a PTA meeting or an HOA meeting or any type of low-level bureaucracy, it's asinine, the stuff that people will bring up. I mean, if you look at any of wherever you happen to be, your local city council meetings or live streams or anything like that, people bring up the stupidest shit to hog the time. It's important to them, but it takes up so much time from something else, and that's really what Willie goes through. He's literally on fire, and they're not willing to concede the floor to him because Mr. Van Houten wants to talk about the menus.
I love Kirk. I love Kirk so much. I don't like the idea of Milhouse having 2 spaghetti meals in one day. That's so funny.
It's a lot of sugar. See, it's all the carbs, and then Milhouse gets wound up. I totally see where he's coming from.
and he's a little overweight, and he still wets the bed. There's a lot of things going on in that household.
Exactly. It's all the wine he has whenever he has spaghetti. So, the one nice thing is that when Willie's on fire, everyone takes the advice and doesn't touch him. So that's good.
Well, that is good advice.
Don't touch Willie. That's some good advice.
Why is this the best one, James?
This is the best, in my opinion, because it works so well with the source material while completely turning it into The Simpsons and being very true to their brand. Like you said, like it doesn't do the things that you can't do on The Simpsons. Like you can get away with a lot of stuff during Treehouse of Horror that you can't get away with in other episodes. There's still a lot of shit you can't do. And this episode walks that line really well. It does crazy shit like when Willie's like a giant spider. You know, like shit like that is so Simpsons, but also so true to the source material. Freddy does some really weird shit like that. And it fits so well. Like, I think that this episode and The Shining are the prime examples of how to walk the line with both and make something truly iconic that holds up on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And for everyone listening, it never gets better than this, so just keep downloading anyway.
Well, I think the next Treehouse of Horror is better in full because it's my favorite Treehouse of Horror, but
after this week, it never gets better.
When I was older and I was watching that fucking awful Will Smith movie Wild Wild West, and that like spider thing showed up, that mechanical spider, I was like, they already did this on The Simpsons. I've seen Willie as this thing before.
Well,
Simpsons,
you know the backstory of that. I forgot who directed that movie, but he was supposed to direct a Superman movie. But this is obviously a guy. If you've seen Wild Wild West, you know the guy cares nothing about the source material, because that was what was supposed to happen in the Superman movie that he was being asked to direct. Oh, it's going to be a giant mechanical spider. It's going to be attacking the city, and Superman's going to fight it.
Is that the one that Kevin Smith wrote for Nick Cage? That's Superman?
No. I don't think it was that one.
Oh, right.
I don't think it was that movie, but it was whoever was directing Wild Wild West was tasked, or at least being looked at, to direct that next Superman movie. But it was before Wild Wild West. But he basically took the shit that he said he was going to do for Superman and put it into Wild Wild West.
It was Barry Sonnenfeld.
Yeah. So, and that was the complaint, was he didn't know anything about the source material, and he was going to have a big mechanical spider. But I appreciate what they did in Wild Wild West, in some aspects or in some respects, because it could have been done better and it would have worked. But
yeah,
you know, I mean, it has some good gags in it, some good jokes. But anyway, the other one, the Attack of the 50-Foot Eyesores. The basic summary of this story is Homer gets upset because he goes to Lard Lad Donuts and he wants a colossal donut. And when they give him the donut, it's a regular sized donut. He's upset. He's pissed off, and he decides to come back. Of all things, he puts very Nicolas Cage in Raising Arizona. He puts a panty on his head. He puts pantyhose on his head to basically hide his identity or mask his identity in order to steal Lard Lad's donut. An electrical storm comes through and gives life to all the mascots, all the advertising things that happen to be out there. And it creates mass hysteria, panic, destruction. And when it comes time to figure out how to get rid of them, Lisa discusses with an ad agency and Paul Anka that the way to get rid of them is to stop giving them attention, which is what I advise people when it comes to certain elected officials. If they don't have attention, if these Tinkerbell motherfuckers stop having people clapping for them and stop having people cheering for them, maybe they'll go away. But anyway, they're guided to stop paying attention to any of the mascots, any of the things that have come to life, to take their power away, and it eventually works. So I like this one because, again, like we've talked about with social commentary with so many things, this one hits on it because when you look at advertising itself, there's so many things that eventually we get tired of, and then years go by, and then you think like, oh shit, whatever happened to the Noid? Or whatever happened to the Taco Bell dog? Whatever happened to the Where's the Beef lady? You know, there are a lot of ads that were very popular that just go away because people get tired of them. Or there's something else that's more interesting that people turn their attention to. So, you know, what do you guys think about this one?
I mean, building on what you just said, like that's advertising. Companies thrive on us giving them attention. And without that attention, then they don't stay in business. And that's where all of this comes from. So I think it's just an ongoing problem. And clearly, if they would have just ignored all of this damage, none of it would have happened. Oh, wait, no.
I just wanted to mention that the Taco Bell dog died in 2009, and it was a very sad moment for a lot of us.
That's sad.
Yeah, but I mean the Taco Bell ads with the dog, because they stopped the ads with the dog years before. But
yeah,
thanks for bringing the show down, Thomas.
I think it was too racist. Honestly.
Have you tried that new Taco Bell wine?
Oh my god.
Jalapeno Noir?
I read about it. I did. I don't drink alcohol.
Neither do I.
I have not.
I was hoping one of you did.
Don will have to be the test market.
We'll have to go to the cantina and try it out.
I basically just want to know if after you drink a bottle, how long you're on the toilet.
Well, usually when I eat Taco Bell, I'm on the toilet to begin with.
Well, that's my theory, so I'm just wondering. Anyway, really unimportant. Continue. Back to the dead dog.
No, so before we get deep into mascots, I wanted to say that there is a thing that Homer says that I really connect with, kind of this acceptance and almost ambivalence towards the lard lad that comes to life, where he sees lard lad walking, and Homer says, "Oh no!" Homer closes the door on him after he says, "Oh, Flanders is next door. That's who you want." And then Homer just says, "He came to life. Good for him." Right? There's no there's no jealousy. He's not comparing him. So often somebody will do something or accomplish something and it'll be like, "Oh, I'm jealous or envious or even upset that somebody did something that I didn't do." But there's just this acceptance of people doing things that Homer has that I really relate to, where it's like, "Oh, he did a good thing. Good for him." I don't take it personally. I don't care either way. But I can acknowledge when something is good for somebody, and I like that.
Homer gets to come alive at the end of this episode, so he's got that going for him.
Fair enough.
No, I really like that. I'd never thought of that before, and you're right. Homer has that a lot, like just this general acceptance. Either that or else he's really pissed. There's no in between.
Well, yeah, which is something I feel the same way about. I'm either really mad at something that happened, or I just have no feeling at all. But I think it's important to say that you can not feel something about something, but still acknowledge the positive or negative aspect of it, which I think Homer does really well.
Yeah.
What were some of your favorite ads?
Oh, of all time?
Or ads, marketing campaigns, company mascots, things like that.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, if you could pick one mascot to come alive, what would it be? But we can do both, I think.
Oh my god, to come alive? That's dangerous.
I'm going to go with the Michelin Man, and then I'm going to dress as a Ghostbuster, and he's going to be my Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
That's a good one. I like that one.
But it'll smell really bad when you hit him with the proton pack.
I've seen me, and I'm pretty sure I won't be alive by that point anyway, so I'm going to go ahead with cool.
And I'll say good for James. He lives pretty long.
And then as far as a mascot to come alive, I would probably pick that little guy from Lucky Charms, or the Keebler Elves, or the Noid, depending on what I'm going to do with them.
Avoid the Noid. He ruins pizzas.
But if I'm trying to fuck up somebody's day, I'm bringing the Noid. But if I'm just chilling, I'm bringing the Keebler Elves because I like cookies. And then I figured that little dude's a leprechaun, so there's some good shit going on there.
Well, the track record with leprechauns and the Simpsons isn't that great, though.
You never know when you'll run into a lady and need a leprechaun, all right? So
anytime there's leprechauns fucking gypsies, I'm out. Just saying.
It's escalated quickly.
So I think for me, my favorite ad campaigns of all time were, I don't know if it was a regional thing, but Quiznos used to have these stupid commercials with these singing puppets. That was just we want the subs. They were very annoying, but I loved it.
Oh God, I remember those things. Yeah.
And my other one is, I think it was Budweiser or Bud Light used to do these commercials.
With
that
frogs.
Was no, not the frogs. It was Real Men of Genius.
Oh,
Where-
Oh,
God,
yeah.
I loved Real Men of Genius. Like, hey, guy who just got off work early because he faked an injury, go home and enjoy a nice cold Bud Light. I love those because it replaced these stupid like Twins commercials whenever there was like, a cool party, a big truck, and the twins, which was just an incestual joke about these hot blonde twins. So I thought Real Men of Genius was a nice way to replace that. Even though me as a 10-year-old was probably not the targeted audience for those commercials.
Oh, but maybe you were.
Well,
I skipped ad
worked.
campaigns, so I'm going to add mine. Definitely Jake from State Farm. Like, no matter how many times I see it, I still laugh
Jake
forever. And then
from State Farm at this time of night?
yeah, definitely
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
nothing. So my all-time favorite commercial was a Doritos commercial, and this old lady was like in the middle of the road about to get hit by a steamroller, and Chevy Chase like freaks out and he runs and he looks like he's going to save her, but he just saves the Doritos and she gets run over while he eats the Doritos. And that's my favorite commercial of all time.
I like that.
All right,
remember
Don,
that
you're up.
God damn it! Now I'm like stuck.
He's like, can't
Let's
talk
see.
about the twins.
I can
Yeah.
mention the mascot I'd want to come to life.
Oh,
Mine would be Wendy from Wendy's because I love a hot and juicy redhead.
Oh gosh, as far as I can't think of a favorite ad. I mean, because there were a lot of annoying ones when I was a kid, like the "Where's the Beef" lady. I fucking hated her because I just figured, like, why don't you just go somewhere where you get get your money's worth if you're going to complain.
you just hate her because she made you move at Selma.
Oh my god, I completely forgot about that. Yeah. If you happen to be an older woman in Scottsdale who happens to listen to this show, you're a horrible person. You don't make a black person get up from their seat during a movie about the civil rights.
Yikes.
I was going to edit that, but now I'm going to leave it.
Why does he get to sit here? I'm like, okay. Let's see, mascots that I would like to see come to life. I mean, I would have said the you know what? Fuck it, Tony the Tiger.
Ooh.
He's great.
Yeah, because I have a feeling like he has a lot of built up angst. Yeah, I just feel like something's going on there.
How do you feel about the? This is a serious question. You can take it seriously or not. It's up to you. But how do you feel about the changing of mascots going on right now, like the elimination of Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben's?
Long overdue.
You think so?
Long overdue.
Are there any out there that you would like to see change still?
Let's see. The Land O'Lakes is gone. And Jemima and Uncle Ben. Well, actually, no. Uncle Ben is still there. I think they're just reviewing it. Washington is gone, or I should say, Washington is around. The nickname and the logo are gone. As far as ones that are, you know what? And I'm going to catch hell for this, and I really don't care. I think the nickname and the logo for the University of Mississippi need to go. And basically because of some information that was found out, or I'm sorry, information that was brought to light, that was brought back out of the shadows from the 1930s when it was first discussed. Because the University of Mississippi started going by the nickname Ole Miss, because someone who had gone to the school decided to call it that because they thought it was funny, because that was how, quote unquote, the old darkies used to refer to the head mistress on the plantation. So someone thought it was a cute idea to nickname the school Ole Miss. And further than that, in the 1930s, when they decided to give a nickname to the school, they chose Rebels. The runner-up was Masses, as in slave masters.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
That's wild.
That was the runner-up. So if certain people had their way, this university, the sports team would be called the Ole Miss Masses. But no, as far as logos and symbols, that definitely need to go away, even more than just Aunt Jemima and any Confederate shit.
That's fair.
Any Confederate neo-Nazi shit, any of that stuff, bye.
So there's this one brand of barbecue sauce I always see, and I always say, like, oh, this feels very racist. And I wonder if you've seen it. It's called Rufus Teague. Have you heard of that barbecue sauce?
I think I have, but I thought you were going to bring up, God damn it, I forgot the other guy's name.
Sweet Baby Ray?
Yeah.
No, that one, at least that one doesn't have like a picture on it. But Rufus Teague's, if you ever see it, it has a picture of of an old black man. It could be from the 1800s, it could be from the 1900s, who knows? It's a generic photo that you would see, and on the bottle, I'm looking at a picture, it says, Rufus Teague made some sauce. Like, that's the title. And then the writing below it says, he put some in a jar and shared it with the boys. They kept on painting him till he fixed up another batch. Next thing he knew, he's making sauce all the time, and it's damn good. And I feel like it's just pure marketing towards, like, the white individual who knows that traditionally black culture has better barbecue sauce and buys it just because of this, story. And I don't buy it because I think
there's some of that weird nostalgia with stuff like that. I don't know about them, but I know that Jack Daniels finally acknowledged where the recipe came from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was I think it was an enslaved worker or anyway, someone that was associated with making it was black and hadn't gotten credit for coming up with the recipe for Jack Daniels.
Oh, I'm sure it's like that with a lot of things, like Bush's beans and all that stuff. I'm sure all the secret recipes come from a place where it was just stolen from a group of people.
Holy shit, is that what the dog's trying to tell us?
The dog in the Bush's baked beans commercials, yeah.
It all makes sense now. Huh. Who knew?
Yeah, but I mean, there are a lot of good ads out there from the 70s. There were also some bad ones too when we're talking about, like, New Coke. Thomas, you're too young for this, but you may know the story. But New Coke was a flop, and it was really an issue of people weren't ready. They wanted to keep Coke the way it was, and even officials at Coke or at Coca-Cola stated, like, "Hey, we didn't do this intentionally to, drive up sales for regular Coke. We said we're not that smart." And I love seeing that press conference, because if you ever go to the World of Coke or even Google it, it's this nice conference where, like, 2 weeks after they release New Coke, they decide, like, we're pulling it from the shelves, we're bringing back the original formula, and we're going to call it Coke Classic. And the whole thing, there were marches and protests because Coke changed their fucking formula. So, I don't know, maybe, I guess maybe some other things that could come alive would be, because it wasn't just mascots. It was all any number of things. I mean, you had billboards and everything were ads, but you had a lot of things that could come to life. I would love for, as far as an inanimate object to come to life, I would love for some of the monuments that are out there to come to life, like the Lincoln Memorial, and just to go up to the White House, like, crack it open, like, what the hell are you doing in my house, you orange fucker? And then, like, close it. And then, and then,
like, he's at Mar-a-Lago. He's not here right now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I just wanted to mention that we didn't talk about King and Kodos in this episode, and they have a nice cameo where there's the donut rolling by and they're hitchhiking as newlyweds on their way to Earth Capital. They have, like, a handwritten sign that says Earth Capital, which I always thought that was a very, very funny way to use them. They have shitty cameos throughout the years, and that was one of the better ones.
Yeah, and I like how shitty it is, because you think they would, with all the observations that they're doing of Earth, you think that they would know where they would need to go, and it
yeah, right.
And it wouldn't be outside of Springfield.
Well, except when you're trying to take over in episode 7, then it makes perfect fucking sense.
This concludes another episode of the Necronomicon with James Sabata, Don Guillory, and Thomas Sexbot